Hello, I'm Cindy Arenberg-Seltzer, President and CEO of the Children's Services Council of Broward County. Welcome to another edition of Future First, Focus on Broward's Children. On a recent episode, we talked about one of the more recent committees of the Broward County Children's Strategic Plan, the Girls Coordinating Council. It is now one of 45 active committees of the plan that, with the CSC as its backbone, provides the flexibility and expertise to galvanize stakeholders around the many issues that pertain to children and families in Broward. Many exciting things have happened since that discussion, driven in large part by work being done around racial equity and a greater understanding of the negative effects of the adultification of girls and young women of color. The Girls Coordinating Council has been fully active and even produced an impressive report on the status of girls and young women in Broward. Here with me to discuss the work and goals of the Girls Coordinating Council and the report are Judge Stacy Ross of the 17th Judicial Circuit of Florida, Brownlee, Associate Executive Director of Pace Center for Girls, Broward and Palm Beach, Bianca Lozada, who is one of the youth members of the Girls Coordinating Council, and Dr. Keisha Gray, Strategy Manager with the Children's Services Council of Broward County. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. April, I want to start with you as chair of the Girls Coordinating Council. I know this endeavor to create the Status of Girls and Young Women report in Broward was a labor of love on the part of many. And I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about why such a report was necessary and what it means to the community.
Sure. Well, we didn't start out with the report in mind. I think through some of our work, we really just begin looking at a lot of the data and statistics and trying to just get an idea of how girls in our community were faring in comparison to girls at the state level and the national level. And as we took a deeper dive and we started to hear from some girls, we realized that as a community, we were doing a lot to support girls. And so the idea came about to put together a report that, as we know, hasn't been done yet to date, to showcase how girls are doing in our community and also how our community providers are supporting girls. So as we went through the data and we were doing some system mapping and all of that, and we began to receive stories from girls, Keisha and I read through all of the stories, and we were just so blown away with how much the community has supported girls. All of the girls that submitted stories for this report attributed their success to supports that they received in the community, formal and informal natural supports. And although what the girls already had to succeed was in them, we knew that, they really, it was clear that the support of the community is what helped bring that out in them. So we thought, hey, let's put together a report that shows how girls are doing in our community, how well they're doing, some areas we need to continue to focus on and strengthen, and let's showcase the success of the girls. And what we realized through all of this and why it's so important is that if we provide as a community opportunities for girls that are nurturing and that are transformational, we really can impact a community to heal. We can promote healing within a community, and that's done through that concept of a collective impact, which really is what this is about.
Keisha, I know you were also laboring in the trenches throughout all of that and putting the report together. Some of the data, is there anything that you would want to highlight?
Yeah, I think for me as a community member, as a mom, I'm a mom of boys, but I have several nieces that I support. And so it was definitely interesting just to learn. We have over 400,000 youth living in our community. And when you looked at the data, what we learned was that over 14% were actually living in poverty. And so that within itself has effects on their life outcomes. Our families are heavily burdened with paying for their homes. And so those things impact how our families can support our girls. And so it was important for us to identify what were some of those gaps in the services that we had in our community, and how do we make sure that the programs and services that we're providing are actually gender responsive. That was definitely something that we heard. We also, from the stories, heard that our girls, their faith were a lot, and they needed their faith and how important their faith was within their support. And so it that within itself propelled one of the things that we want to work on moving forward, which is how do we get faith-based organizations involved in our work. And I think since then we've had a member of a faith-based organization actually join the committee. And so it was just really good being able to take that deeper dive and disaggregate the data and see what was actually out there. Another area that we found some disparities was in the juvenile justice system. When we looked at it, our Black girls were being arrested at higher rates than our white girls and our Hispanic girls. So just within itself, that data was alarming for us. And so we dug a little bit deeper, and we were able to get some data to look at what were some of the offenses. And when we looked at it, we saw that it was actually for absconding. Their initial charge was for very misdemeanor charges, but those misdemeanor charges became larger charges because they were failing to appear for court. And so as we dug deeper, that helps us to understand some more. We also had looking at our youth who were living in transition, homeless. And so what we found was that a high percentage of our youth were in Broward County schools who were living in transition were actually girls. And so that within itself bred, well, how do we support our girls who are homeless? And so that has really bred a lot of ideas, and we're trying to be innovative in meeting. And one of the things we wanted to do was to incorporate the voice of youth in that work. And so we worked hard in trying to find some youth who were interested in furthering the work, and Bianca joined us.
So Bianca, how exciting. One of two to start with. Youth who are engaged in this, and what made you agree that this was something that you wanted to do?
The reason why I joined Girls Coordaining Council is to advocate for the other girls like me, and also growing up in a society today, it's much different, and we tend to get labeled differently. Girls are not supposed to do this, girls are supposed to do this, oh, she's bad, oh, look at her. No, because they don't know what's really going on inside of a growing up girl in today's society. And it's different, as I said, and we have a lot of emotions that are going through us, and we need that support. Some girls do not get the support at home, some girls do not get support at school. So we try to look for support out of any other thing. And for me, I do attend Pace Center for Girls. It's a really great school. It's an all-girls school. And I found my support through them. And they helped me build a stronger support within my families too, and to girls' support in school emotionally. And I felt comfortable within myself. And I feel that other girls need that support that I have also. And I would like to advocate for them and to give them a voice also, because more girls like me, and as in like me, as growing up, as becoming more mature, going through emotions, need more support. Yeah. And that's pretty much it, so my voice could get through.
That's terrific.
Yeah. Thank you.
One of the pressures certainly nowadays that I certainly didn't have to deal with, I mean, we had enough pressure on how we look and all of that, but we didn't have Instagram, we didn't have Snapchat, we didn't have all of the touch-ups that they do on people to make them appear like they're perfect
right.
when you know that they're not.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter just asked me, I have a 12-year-old, and she asked me to download some program that allows her to Photoshop. And the other day she said, send me a picture of you full body so I can see what I can do. Because I had joked about, could you shave 10 pounds or 50 pounds off of me? And so she started playing with it and showed me what happens when she takes my belly away and when she does this. And I'm like, okay, so I like that look better. But keep in mind now, when you're looking at people's photos on Instagram, that they don't really look like that. When you're being so self-critical, keep in mind that those pictures that you're looking at, those people are photoshopped. They can just, you're 12 and you were able to do that in 10 seconds.
Right.
So what do you think these stars are doing with people who that's their whole life is about, making them look better?
Right. And I like to add on that girls, when they see like celebrities like Kylie Jenner, all their Instagram models, and they get surgery like that. I feel like the beauty within ourselves is our true selves. And in order to find love, we have to love ourselves first. And if you want to change something about yourself, then you're insecure and you don't love that. But you have to appreciate of what you have, because no matter what, all your insecurities, everything, that's what makes you you, and that's what makes you beautiful.
Wow, that was really well said.
Yes,
Thank you.
that is so true.
So Judge, I want to bring you into this because you deal with the part that the juvenile justice system aspect and the girls that come before you, and you have really taken a different approach as a judge to be supportive, to not just criminalize the young girls before you, but to actually understand them. Can you talk a little bit about what drove you to that decision and what you're doing in the courtroom?
Sure, and that's why I love being on panels like this and having these discussions, because somebody like Bianca, having that voice, finding that voice, and then being a voice for the girls who I see that haven't really found that courage and voice yet. The girls that appear in juvenile court are the most marginalized girls out there. One of the, as we were already discussing, there seems to be attitude sometimes to deal with girls in like a paternal way and judge their behavior. Some of the maladaptive behaviors that I see in my courtroom are a result of adverse childhood experiences that they've had. If you read the report, you'll see that girls are experiencing a greater number of violent sexual abuse, domestic teen dating violence. And you know, if you think about what they're getting arrested for, and it was already kind of mentioned, assault, battery, and then those misdemeanor cases are leading to other cases, so like absconding or running away or truancy. These types of status offenses, unfortunately, sometimes in the juvenile justice system, we have a view of looking at the girl with a paternal view and like, this behavior's bad, stop it, instead of looking at, why is this girl running away from home? What is she running from? What is at her home that's so bad that she has to leave? Mm-hmm. And if we get to the bottom of it and you know, discover in many cases that these adverse childhood experiences are affecting the girls, address the root of those issues with our, you know, we established a gender responsive and strength-based court called Girls Court, and our Girls Court partner Pace is, you know, able to look at the girl like as a whole and kind of understand what's behind the scenes, what I'm not seeing in court as a judge, and be able to help the girl strengthen herself and understand what she's experiencing and then why her behavior and acting out is occurring. Mm-hmm. Our goal is to keep them from going into the juvenile system, into adult court, and that pipeline to prison that we're seeing for sexual abuse to the prison has some compelling results, and we kind of want to put an end to that.
Yeah. Most girls who are living in happy households where all is well are not running away and committing offenses. If things are going well, there's no reason to run away. So like you said, there has to be something else going on, and it's great that you're willing and able to look into that. And that Pace is providing that support once they get there. Mm-hmm. From what I understand, there's also been the add-on problem, and I think Keisha alluded to this earlier, that they get that status offense and then they're not showing up, mm-hmm. and they get these failure to appear that escalate the charges. And so we've done some work together through
some community action projects.
Community participatory action research
yeah.
on that exact problem, and you came up with some solutions. Do you want to talk about that, April or Keisha?
Go ahead. We can tag team. We did. We actually we did look at those numbers, and when the CPAR work was taking place in Broward County, we brought to the table the information that we had found when we were doing our research regarding failure to appear rates. And from that, it was a collaborative work group with youth in our community, which then became named the Second Chance Project. And we did take a deeper dive into failure to appear rates, and we learned that there was a program in our community that was giving youth a second chance, but not many people knew about the program. So we met with Judge Ross, we met with some other judges, state attorney, and presented to them some ideas as to how we could get this information out. So we will have distributed at the Juvenile Assessment Center, the Detention Center, and through the Clerk of Courts, informational brochures for youth and family in English, Spanish, and Creole, information about the importance of getting to court, how to prepare for court, and also poster-sized displays of this in those locations as well. Because what we found was that youth weren't missing court because they were avoiding it. They were missing court for a lot of different reasons. They were in school, they were working, they had moved, they forgot, they
Parents
lost the
didn't take
paperwork,
them.
their parents didn't take
Right.
them. There were so many reasons. And what was happening, when they miss court, if there's a pickup order issued, they're then picked up, put in
By
detainment
police
by
and
police, and it was quite an
arrested.
experience for them.
And they can spend overnight in the detention center for missing a simple misdemeanor court case.
Which can be traumatic for our
Sure,
girls.
of
And
course.
I think one of the cool things I liked about the project was the video PSA
Yes.
that the youth came up with. And so, I'm definitely excited to see when we empower our youth what they do, when we allow them to actually change their communities. And the PSA video is actually linked in the report online. And so if people are interested in seeing that, I think it's a great educational tool for our youth and our families so parents can understand what are the ramifications when they don't take their child to court and what are their options as well. So I'm really excited to see where we go with that project. I think we've identified some other points in our work where we would be able to replicate that project around other systems of care.
Absolutely.
And I'm really excited to see what our youth come out with that. I know at the last meeting that we had, Bianca talked a lot about her own experiences within a system of care that sort of made us begin to talk about, well, let's look at behavioral health, let's look at mental health, and let's look at how we're supporting our girls as it relates to that as well. And so we're really looking forward to diving deeper into behavioral health and how our girls are experiencing that system.
One of the things that I'm really interested in getting off the ground is dealing with trauma and gun violence in the
Yeah.
communities and how that affects our young people. And Bianca, I don't know, have you experienced that, or have you been, do you know people who have experienced gun violence in their world?
My coworker, she's a youth like me also. She's 17. She went to MSD, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, and that was a tragedy. And a lot of kids suffer from trauma from that, a lot. Even though she wasn't hurt or anything, but her friends also, and they didn't deserve to lose their lives. And certain sounds trigger them, like, for example, the fire alarm. And the kids, whenever they hear the fire alarm sound, they start panicking, they cry, they think, because school, it's a safe environment. When they go to school, they do not expect that to happen. And then when they hear the fire alarm sound, they don't feel safe because they feel like somebody's coming after them, even the teachers, all the students. And it's just not fair to grow up like that, And
I think you also
Just-
talked about just the importance of having your peers there with you as well.
Right.
As a support system, as a guide. That's also helpful as you work your way through some of the issues that are going on in the community.
Right.
And so we just want to really be able to provide our youth with opportunities for their peers to support them along the way. And, when they share their stories and when they support each other, we've seen where it's really helped our girls to thrive more in our community.
yes, like moral support. I have my friend supporting me. She's sitting over there in the audience. But yeah.
Girl power.
Girl power.
Yes.
We stand
We gotta
together.
support
yes.
each other.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we comfort each other, and that's what we need. And we girls, like they say, girls gossip, but we don't, because we just like to compare stories, make each other feel good about ourselves,
I like
And like we just need that support from each and one another, and we should all stand strong together and not bash each other off. But
That's a really important message, I think, for any girls who happen to be watching, because one of the things that I worry about, girls can be really mean. And I
can.
tell my daughter, again, because, my daughter, but in middle school, everybody is so insecure And the way they manifest that insecurity is to try and make others feel bad so that they can feel better. But if they're able to do like you are talking about and flip that script, and rather than try and tear each other down so that you feel better, realize that everybody can feel better if you support each other.
Right.
If you recognize that really everyone feels insecure.
Right.
Everybody, their bodies are changing, their hormones are raging. They don't know what to do with that. And so rather than just make fun of each other, share that you're going through that. It's a little scary to make yourself that vulnerable, but the payoff is huge.
It is.
And I think one of the things we also noticed was that we needed to provide an opportunity for our girls to know what resources were out there. So where are those places where they can find that support, find that caring adult, that consistent relationship that they need to help them to succeed. And I know we've been working on trying to identify some of those organizations within the community that are responsive to the needs of our girls, and just really thinking about how do we support them and help them to thrive.
April, certainly PACE Center is the leader in that work, but you've also been training and teaching others to do that. What do you think is the magic, the secret sauce over there at PACE?
I can't share that. I think the question we get asked a lot is why girls? You know, why girls? Why do we always focus on girls? And there's a good reason. You know, when we always talk about if we help and support some of the more marginalized populations, we're going to make a larger impact. And when we talk about supporting girls and the needs of girls, we're really talking about investing in communities and creating longer term social and economic changes. We know that you know, girls, and as they grow into women, for example, on average invest 2 to 3 times more of their income back into their families. They are better providers of nutrition and health care for their children. We know girls who have opportunities for equitable education. Educated girls are more self-determinant and have confidence in making decisions about their own lives as they get older. We know that educated women make higher wages, and so we start talking about breaking cycles of poverty and again, creating those longer term effects in our communities. So that's why we invest in girls, and that's why girls matter, because you know, when you invest in girls and you invest in communities, you create those longer term solutions.
It's funny, I just had a flashback back when I was in graduate school, and one of my classmates had been the former Secretary of State for Uganda, and she was telling me how women had been key in stopping the Civil War. Because the mothers said, I don't want any more of our children killed. And they managed to create the connections that stopped the Civil War. So
And we discussed this at one of our last coordinating council meetings. When we address the most marginalized youth, if I am looking at why girls of color are being arrested more often in school for minor offenses, then I'm not going to ignore the same issues when it comes to the boys. When I look at the ACEs, or the adverse childhood experiences that girls are experiencing, you know, we also have to address that with the boys. So focusing on girls really betters the entire community and brings enlightenment and knowledge to everyone. It's like that trickle up effect, I guess. You know, starting with those that are most marginalized is only going to serve to help the community as a whole.
Well, unless any boys watching or parents of boys think that we don't care about boys, at least at the Children's Services Council, we definitely do. But it's a matter of having gender responsive services so that the boys are getting what they need and the girls are getting what they need, and just recognizing that those, in some cases, they're exactly the same, and in other cases, they're not. Certainly, they all need education, but the kinds of things that are happening and the changes that are happening are different, and where they need that support may be different.
Yeah. And I think definitely, I think we definitely found moments of celebrating the the growth we've made for our girls. So we found that girls were graduating, so they were finishing school on time. And so when we look at that data and we ask girls, well, what made a difference for you? We can use that information to inform the work that we're doing within our community. We saw that teenage pregnancy was down, and that was something that I think as a community we were working on for a very long time.
And subsequent
Yes.
second pregnancies
Yes,
also
it's also
down.
down, but that doesn't mean we stop what we're doing. I think what that means is that we continue to work on creating those conditions which allow our girls to thrive. Graduation rate is up for all our youth. That is amazing. But what we do is we disaggregate that data and we see, well, how are we doing with boys? How are we doing with girls? And then that helps us to inform our work.
And that's a great place to stop. Thank you, Keisha. That was really important information. Thank you to all of you for a great discussion. As you've heard, policies and practices that are gender and culturally responsive to the needs of girls and young women can be crucial to their lifelong success. The strategic plan in general and the Girls Coordinating Council are tools that we use to address issues such as these. We invite you to consider joining this or any other committee of the strategic plan and to view the report on the status of girls and young women in Broward County on our website, cscbroward.org, in the Community Builders section. I want to thank our panelists, Judge Stacy Ross, April Brownlee, Bianca Lozada, and Keisha Gray for their efforts at ensuring that the work around gender-specific programming is understood and expanded. I've been your host, Cindy Ehrenberg-Seltzer. For this or any other episode of Future First, focus on Broward's children, go to our website, cscbroward.org, where you can access our YouTube channel, follow us on social media, and remember to join us next time on Future First, focus on Broward's children.